homestand, 6 games in. The Mets are 3-3 as we welcome you to the Queen's Connection, a production of Patton Sports Creative. I am your host, Andrew Patton, joined by the co-host, Corne Hogveen. Corne, like I said, a 3-3 homestand so far. So let's get a vibe check over in the Netherlands. How do you feel about this homestand so far?
Well, obviously, I think when facing Oakland and Miami, you want it to be better than 3-3, especially seeing that the Braves went 4-2 in this week. And you hoped that you might get closer or maybe even tie it after these 6 games heading into a pretty difficult stretch coming up. But unfortunately, it was 3-3, and I don't think I'm pleased with going 3-3 at home against Oakland and the Marlins.
Yeah, I kind of felt like what you said there with the Braves record. The Atlanta going 4-2 in their last six. I kind of felt like the Mets needed to at least be in that ballpark, and I guess technically they are with 3-3. But just the way those three losses went, I think are very aggravating, perhaps for some people. Especially figuring maybe that Thursday game against the Oakland A's was the most aggravating one of them all because I think a theme in this homestand so far is when the Mets get good pitching, they tend to win the game. I know Paul Blackburn pitched well on Sunday and ended up with nothing out of it, but the overall picture is when the Mets pitched well, they performed well and they had chances to win the game or they did win the game. And the days they did not pitch well, they kind of got taken to them a little bit. Especially that series opener against the A's where Paul Blackburn did not pitch so well. But
Mhm.
so I guess that's just my overall takeaway from these 6 games is that when the pitching's on, the Mets have a chance to win, and when it's not on, then it could be a bit of a rough ride for the New York Mets. And I don't think I don't think that's any groundbreaking news to be sharing, but I think it was just more highlighted in these past 6 games, maybe than we've cared to highlight. Not us, but the overall, media or fans or whatever would maybe care to share that same opinion like us, because we're trendsetters. We're usually on top of everything.
We have been right a couple of times this year, I would say. Probably gonna go talk about one guy we were right on in this recap of the Marlins series. And I'm not gonna spoil people. You have to listen. No, no. But yes, pitching wins. And especially the Thursday game was tough to watch because it wasn't necessarily, I think the first game you could also just, say that the Athletics had a good offensive day going. A team that's maybe not great on paper does have a pretty decent lineup, especially late with a couple of good hitters. Um, But unfortunately, that Thursday game, in my opinion, was a different story because our pitching just helped them way too much. I think 11 walks. That's you're not gonna win games when you walk 11 people. Maybe in an ultimatum you win one time, but I think you probably win 1% of those games. Not giving up, free bases, and every arm in that game just wasn't good, wasn't on. And I think the offense that game did well, which also a little bit more aggravating because we scored 5 runs early. And then you hope that a veteran pitcher like Jose Quintana um, can shut it down and is able to maybe not give up, having zeros, but do well enough to just, keep the lead. He did keep the lead, but not not the way you wanted with 4 runs in 4 innings and put a lot of pressure on the bullpen, um, which obviously didn't help. I think the Monday game was different because Blackburn just didn't have it. Maybe the A's know a little bit more about Paul Blackburn. It's always, they've seen him enough to maybe know and make a good game plan against their former teammates. So luckily, he had a good outing against Miami, so he bounced back immediately. but yeah, that those days happen. You know that your starter just not having it, but the Thursday game wasn't necessarily not having it, just a complete um, lack of control for all of those pitchers. And we also have to mention, if we mention the Oakland series, our old friend. Maybe you were going to your old friend, our old friend, for spring training for whatever it was, because I think that's a nice talking point.
I believe you're referring to Oakland A's reliever Austin Adams, who got a big strikeout and threw up the OMG hands, and um, we can talk a little bit about that. I don't have like too, I'm usually opinionated, but I don't have like too much of an opinion on it. I think it's more along the lines of what Edwin Diaz said. I told you this. I think half of what Edwin Diaz said to the media was right. Um, the part that I don't agree with Diaz on is that he crossed the line. I don't think that's really crossing the line. It's it is what it is. Like I don't think it's like a, oh my god, he committed this heinous crime or anything. I don't think it's anything like that. But I do agree with Diaz in the fact that if the Mets do something, they're going to respond, or they have the right to respond. It's definitely a two-way street in my mind. If the pitcher wants to celebrate a big out, and the next night he comes in and he allows a home run, the batter can flip his bat if he wants or anything like that, and vice versa. But obviously Lindor hit the home run the next day, and he threw up the OMG hands as he was rounding second base. So that was the response right there. And so I didn't really have a problem with what Austin Adams did. I did have a little bit of a problem with what Edwin Diaz said, just from the fact that it crossed the line, which I totally disagree with. I think it's just baseball nowadays, and the Mets had a chance to respond to it, and they took advantage of it. So all is even right now in my mind.
Yeah, I didn't have any problem with the ONG hand signing. What I do thought was a little bit over the top was him being so mad for the Mets DFAing him. Um, I think if I would be Austin Adams, I would be very pleased that he is pitching in the Oakland Athletics bullpen, because it gives him more of an opportunity to show himself. I think if he stayed with the Mets, he probably would be, a kind of up and down kind of arm. So that I thought was very overblown on his part, and not needed. Probably had it on his mind before starting that outing, because I don't think it just comes up after getting out. I think it's fine that you show your former team that you are unpleased with a DFA or something like that. That's fine, but I think the way he said it was a bit too much. I think no Mets fan this year, even with the bullpen struggles, uh, thinks that Austin Adams would be the savior for that bullpen for the Mets. So he is not on our minds. So it shouldn't necessarily be such a big deal for him. Um, Maybe it was just, chain of events kind of thing. Emotions got to him. Uh, for me, I think I like, honestly, a bit of back and forth in teams this way. So I'm agreeing with you that I don't think that crossed the line by Austin Adams. Um, I honestly think it was pretty funny. So yeah, go for it, do it. And exactly, the Mets exactly responded how I like them after that Lindor home run. Not only win that game, I think the true revenge would have been winning the series, but unfortunately that didn't happen. But um, so I think it's fun. I think you just I don't mind seeing this in baseball, where you celebrate, and maybe celebrate a little bit over the top, or trying to do a little bit of a poke to the other team with your celebration. So I have no problem with that.
Yeah, Austin Adams currently on the 15-day IL now. But his
He
one
threw
point
his hands up too high.
maybe like a wrist strain or something like that. But Austin Adams and his 1.48 WHIP. The Mets already have a guy like that. We don't need another one like that in the or they don't need another one like that in the bullpen. So um, maybe we'll and a big a little bit of a tease of what we're going to talk about later. But just to get back to that Thursday game real quick, a lot of this coming to at least it felt like listening to the game on the radio. Maybe this was more the Quintana part of the outing than the bullpen, but a lot of this felt like it was with 2 outs. Obviously, the JJ Bleday home run was with 2 outs as well. The grand slam was with 2 outs, so that was the real Kickstarter for the A's and their comeback. But just a lot of inability to put guys away and stuff like that. We've talked about that with Catan before because he's not a strikeout guy; he's a pitch to contact guy. But I mean, sometimes you need to strike out, and unfortunately, Quintana is not really a guy that. I mean, he can, but it was pretty obvious from listening. I'm sure from you watching, it was even more obvious that um, not able to locate, not able to get anything over, and uh, a lot of deep counts, which pushes up the pitch count. And obviously, you only want the 4 innings, so you're gonna have to rely on the bullpen. And um, as we know, like even though there have been some additions to this bullpen, obviously, if there's a weakest link in the on this Mets team, it's the bullpen, and it showed again that day. Everyone at least registered a walk in this game, like you said, 11 total. So we don't need to keep beating this dead horse because we've done it a million times on this show. But if there's a killer for this team, it's pitcher walks. That is absolutely what kills this team.
Kills the pitching, definitely. It's living on the edge for most of the time if you keep doing this. Sometimes it works. We have seen outings where pitchers walk a lot of hitters, but get out of him, get out of the jams that presented it. But I think it do before the Blade home run, there was a call that Quintana should have strike three, but it's for me it's not an excuse for the whole pitching staff to eventually walk 11 batters and make that pitch an excuse. It just was a bad game, and I said to you on the chat, we deserved losing this game. Dot. And you can look back at pitches somewhere that could have been gone the other way, but it just wasn't a good performance by the whole pitching staff. Um, it's tough to win. I think the offense definitely deserved better, but it's tough to win when you pitch that badly. And also, I think not only the walks for Quintana, but just getting 4 innings, just it gets the bullpen it has the potential to be good, but it's with a run lead, it's a very difficult task to um, get 5 innings out of your bullpen without allowing a run. So that's
Yep, I agree with you 100%. And like you said, the games the Mets lost in this series, they were ones that they deserved to lose, probably. Maybe the exception being the Sunday Marlins game, but there were some things they did. Uh, no, not that lack of getting a clutch hit, even though Lindor got a hit in that big moment. But um, I think the games that they've won, they deserve to win. The games they've lost, they probably deserve to lose. So I think it all evens out, being 3-3 so far. But let's talk about the Marlins series real quick. Um, Obviously, the highlight was Saturday, but just touch on the Friday game real quick because they needed that win after that A's game, and Manaea gave him another good outing. Sean Manaea has been really good in this second half. Obviously, he started out that game in Miami to start the second half and didn't go well, but things have gotten better since then. So just Sean Manaea going another 7 inning outing and uh, really kind of picking up the team when they needed it after that rough Thursday game. So tip of the hat to Sean Manaea. If you want to talk about Sean, you can, but we do also have to talk about Luis Severino and the complete game on Saturday. That was just awesome to see. You can tell he really wanted it. Mendoza went out in the ninth, and he let him have it. Um, so just after some lackluster pitching in the A's series, the Mets got some really good pitching in this Miami series.
yeah, back to back great outings. Like you said, Manaea gave us 7. He wasn't as good as his other 7 inning outings he had, but allowed just 3 runs. You definitely take that in 7 innings. Gave us innings, which we obviously needed after Quintana's outing the day before. So that was great to see. Buto came in and it. Buto thinks only Monday was a bad outing for him, but he was back on track. So that was great to see. Big home run for Nimmo as well. I think we should mention that struggling mightily, hitting a big home run. Unfortunately, I heard from you that yesterday he left with injury. I didn't watch yesterday's game, um, so yeah, that's you always see that, when a hitter gets going a bit, then he gets hurt. So that's maybe it does figure out the Marte issue with Winker. But yeah, obviously it's going to be a miss to see. I don't know how long he's out. We probably have to wait and see on that. Probably get some news on that today. So that's unfortunate, but it was good to see that he found some success after his struggles. And then Sefi getting tons of ground balls. An all double play helped him to get a 3 pitch inning in the third inning. Had a 4 pitch inning later, so that definitely helped, giving him the shot to get a complete game. And I loved seeing a pitcher getting a complete game shutout. It's been a while, 2021, the last time with Jacob deGrom. So yeah, that was just great to see. Love the emotion he showed. Like you mentioned, he really wanted it. Good from Mendoza. I think that shows we probably have something bad things to say about Carlos Mendoza's Sunday game, but the Saturday game, I think he handled it really well, and kept Severino in. And I do like that about Carlos Mendoza, that he's letting his players tell him at times too, and not just always make his decision, but sometimes comes out to just talk to his pitcher and see where he's at, hear where he's at. Obviously, Sefi wouldn't have said, "Oh, I'm done now." I know that, but I think he reads those kind of situations really well. We've seen it before that he kept pitchers in, um, and I think he does a tremendous job trusting his players um, when maybe it needs to be, so to speak. So that's I thought that was a really good job. Before we go into the Sunday game, have to add some good to for Carlos Mendoza, because I do believe he's having a good year this year. But Sunday he made some miscues.
Yeah, obviously, in that ninth inning, uh, Severino led off the inning by plunking Jake Berger, I believe it was. So, and then Mendoza came right out, and you're kind of thinking like, is it kind of like a be like if you're going to take him out after hitting one pitch hitting the guy, then why'd you send him out there? But obviously he didn't. He left him out there, and Severino worked his way out of it, throwing 113 pitches. And so, do you have to tip your cap to Carlos Mendoza for uh, kind of letting I don't want to say letting the players dictate, how the game's going to play, but getting the feel, reading the situation, and feeling like that Severino could finish off this outing, which he did, and did it in grand fashion, getting that strikeout to end the game. So Saturday was very fun to watch for us pitching guys.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, also I do think it's worth noting that yes, it was maybe one pitch, but that was a pitch that he missed badly with the hit by pitch. And also I think he had 98 pitches at that point. So I do understand that right after that pitch, although it was just one pitch, I do understand that he had maybe his questions about the ability of Severino, um, getting some outs at that point. We know that Sevi isn't, known for his durability over the last couple of years. Already pitched more innings than 2018. I said that I thought that it was 2018. So I do get that, although it's one pitch, that Mendoza went out there just to check. But I also like that, like I mentioned, and you mentioned too, that he probably didn't. He probably went out knowing that he's gonna talk to him, because if he made up his mind, he doesn't even get to Severino before making the move. So definitely was part from how you feel. Why did that pitch uh, went so off um, what you wanted to do? And maybe Chevy said it slipped, and maybe he was wondering if he was tired.
Well, obviously, very good possible explanations for that. But in the end, doesn't matter. Severino gets the job done. He gets those 3 outs, and the Mets have a 4-0 shutout win. So they're going for a sweep on Sunday, and unfortunately, they don't do that. They lose 3-2. Paul Blackburn gave him a very nice outing, going 6 innings. The one run allowed was a misplay. That base runner was on a misplay by Tyrone Taylor in center field. But it looked like the center fielders are having a tough day overall. So it wasn't just Tyrone Taylor; it was the Marlins center fielder as well. So that kind of stinks for Paul Blackburn. The Mets do get a 2-1 lead, though. They tie it on a Lindor hit. Nimmo then hits a home run in the next inning. So the Mets are up 2-1, and we go to the bullpens, and Brazoban was off. Reed Garrett was not good, to put it nicely. And then Phil Maton, he did technically allowed the go ahead run to score an inherited runner, but he did pitch an inning and 2/3 scoreless on his line, so that's obviously nice. But I think the big talking points in this are Reed Garrett in tight games, and then what the Mets did in the bottom of the ninth, which we will get to. I think we should start with Reed Garrett because obviously had the very nice April, and then after that, it's been bad. It's been very bad with Reed Garrett, and we know he's coming off an injury, uh, so he's working his way back. You could say technically, but even his rehab outings weren't very productive per se, I guess. So I mean, just his last 15 outings, um, he's got a 1.71 WHIP. If you want to do the last 7 outings, uh, it's a 2.50 WHIP. So he's just allowing so many base runners, and his whip overall in the season is 1.49. Yes, he strikes out guys, but a lot of those were coming earlier in the season uh, for a point that you will make, which I will allow you to make because I don't want to steal your thunder. Uh, but people are not fooled by Reed Garrett now. They have an idea on him, and that's basically don't swing the bat when Reed Garrett comes in because he's all over the place. So in my mind, the Mets cannot trust Reed Garrett in these tight games. I don't really want to see him in there. And back in April, I said, well, maybe I was wrong about Reed Garrett. Maybe Jeremy Hefner has turned things around for him. We have those clips. I think we can delete those clips now because I think I was right about Reed Garrett the whole time. I think I was drinking the Kool-Aid on Reed Garrett back in April. I think Reed Garrett is reverted back to the pitcher he is, or maybe he's been this the whole season, and the hitters have just adjusted. But Reed Garrett, in my mind, is not a trustworthy arm in this Mets bullpen right now.
Uh, Partly, I agree. I think we did see that Reed Garrett altered his way of pitching. It altered not necessarily his arsenal, but his pitch usage early in the season, and definitely worked. And he was tremendous in April. Um, but yes, he adjusted from last year having a meh year to having a good start of the year, with a new way of using his pitches, which definitely worked early on. But now hitters just readjusted, and that's name of the game, and that's what happens all over MLB, and that's been happening maybe since this game's now, not maybe not that long, but at least for a very long time. And we see that a splitter works when it dives out of the zone. And if hitters are able to spot the splitter, they shouldn't swing at it because it's always never a strike. It's mostly just below the zone or sometimes way below the zone. So, and that's his best pitch. I mentioned earlier that his fastball was still getting hit hard, so he he needs more than his fastball. And right now, with the splitter is not being swung at. He just needs to go to his fastball to get strikes more, which is obviously is the pitch that he has the least success with. So what he's trying to do, and he had a good outing before this outing where he struck out the side, by the way, but what he's trying to do is um, still, getting hitters to chase, and that's why he allows 3 walks because the hitters didn't chase. If hitters don't chase, I think Reed Garrett's just having a tough time. And the more they see Garrett and the more they get to know Garrett, the more they probably know that you have to be patient with him. And I think that's just what's happening. And yes, you were right in April, blah, blah, blah. I did say in April that I think he reinvented himself. I still think he did. But I also said that we have to see it for a longer period than just April. And yeah, like you mentioned, the numbers, I think the overall numbers maybe are still fine, but considering his April was so good, it's probably not that great after April. Especially the whip is not that good after April. Um, so yeah, Reed Garrett is Reed Garrett, and Reed Garrett shouldn't be pitching in high leverage spots, especially when you have other options out there.
Yeah, Reed.
And the bullpen was rested. Sorry to
Yeah.
steal your tongue,
No,
but
no,
the
no. You're
bullpen
good.
was rested.
It
So
was. Yeah. I'm.
if if you're in a situation where where your hands are tied, you have to use Garrett. Yeah, fine. Then but you had other options because we had Severino and Manaya pitch uh, long, so you had a rested bullpen. So I don't necessarily saw the need for Reed Garrett being out there in the eighth inning with a tie game.
You could have gone to Phil Maton to start that eighth inning. Obviously, Garrett came in the to finish off the seventh to get one out because Brosabon was a little all over the place. But you could have had Phil Maton start the inning. It was the top of the order for the Marlins. So if you want to play this game where these games matter late in the season, this is the best part of the Marlins order. You could have put Diaz out there in that scenario. I wouldn't have hated that. Ottavino's been decent of late. I have more faith in Ottavino to get some outs than Reed Garrett. Reed Garrett in his 3 outings since returning from the IL. So he's pitched 3 games, 3 innings, 3 runs, 4 walks, 5 strikeouts. So his ERA is 9. He's 0-2. He's taken a loss in his last 2 outings. And his WHIP is 2.33 at the moment in these 3 outings since he's returned. So it's like I told you, Alex Young was optioned for Reed Garrett. I think Alex Young brings a little bit more value to the Mets bullpen right now than Reed Garrett. I know Alex Young's not a hard thrower like Reed Garrett, but he's gotten some big outs, what to which Garrett has not really gotten big outs since April. So and I like kind of having the 2 lefties in the bullpen with Danny Young as well still in there. So I maybe a little I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm smarter than David Stearns, but I just looking at the way the bullpen had been, and what has Reed Garrett done of late? What did Reed Garrett do on his rehab assignment? I know teams probably don't put too much stock in rehab assignments, no, in their performances, uh, but it's just been a lot of the same with Reed Garrett. So I think Alex Young would have brought more to the team, and I think Alex Young was more worthy of sticking around than Reed Garrett. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, and I think obviously Reed Garrett is a little bit of the more sexier arm to have, so to speak, than Alex Young. But Alex Young did a tremendous job for us. Is a guy who can give you innings and can be valuable, multiple ways. So yeah, and I think we both said before this decision was made on I think our last episode probably that we like to see that Reed Garrett was optioned. I think we both agreed on that. So um, I still stand by what we said in our last podcast. I think after what we saw, even before the IL stint, and now in his rehab outings, and what we've seen in the major leagues when he's back, I think it's fair to say that Reed Garrett should have been in AAA instead of a guy like Alex Young.
I agree with you 100% there. So that was one potential issue we had with the manager when bringing his bullpen. The other happened in the ninth inning. Bottom of the ninth, the Mets get the first two guys on. Iglesias gets an infield single. Taylor singles to left field. So the Mets down by one. Have two runners on with nobody out. Jeff McNeil comes up, who was hitting in the nine spot as he pinched hit for Luis Torrens earlier in the game. And we know McNeil's been probably the Mets' best hitter since the All Star break. And they go up there and they try to have him bunt the runners over. He doesn't get the bunt down successfully. Ends up strikeout swinging. Um, Lindor eventually flies out to deep center field, like the deepest part of the park you could hit it to. You hit it anywhere else, that ball's out, but he hit it to the wrong part of the park. So now Iglesias moves over to third. So there's a runner on runners on the corners, two outs, and Vientos strikes out to end the ball game. They asked Mendoza about bunting with McNeil there in the ninth inning, and he said he's trying to get two guys in the scoring position, which I get. But like I said, he's been their best hitter since the All Star break. It's a guy who, when he's on, and he is on, he can control the zone. He can hit the ball where he wants to. And like on Anthony Recker said on the Roku broadcast, he's got a big hole on the left side. We know Jeff McNeil can easily slap a ball to the left side if he wanted to, especially with the way he's going. I was very much against bunting with Jeff McNeil there. I don't like. I would rather have the chance. I'd rather take three shots with a guy on second base rather than uh, two shots with uh, him on third and the other guy, assuming you get the bunt down and he doesn't get thrown out second base, having two guys in scoring position. I'd rather take scenario one, especially with McNeil, Lindor, Vientos. If those three guys who have been swinging the bat very well of late, if they can't drive that guy in from second base, then the Mets probably don't deserve to win the game. So I was very much against the decision to bunt with McNeil there. I'm sure there's probably a better explanation um, to 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 counter my argument, but I just don't like giving it out there, especially in the ninth inning when you got back to back hits off a guy who's maybe now he's feeling it a little bit. Uh, so I don't like giving the Marlins an out there in that situation, and obviously McNeil struck out, so they didn't move the runners at all. Maybe McNeil strikes out, even if they don't put the bunt down the first couple times. Who knows? But I just didn't like the decision there to bunt with a guy who's been swinging the bat extremely well since the middle of July.
There's a reason we see less and less bunting in the game because just the numbers say that it just mostly doesn't necessarily help you a lot. And I think it's partly the reason that hitters struggle with laying bunts down because they aren't asked to lay a bunt down. And sacrifice is different than bunting for a hit. So I think McNeil at times does try to bunt for a hit. So it's not like he never bunts, but sacrifice just different situation, different way to bunt, different yeah, pressure on it than trying to hit a bunt single. I didn't watch the end. I get what Mendoza is saying, trying to get two runners in scoring position with Lindor and Vientos up, which you probably get a fly ball off eventually. If McNeil would have put the bunt down and Lindor flew out, you would have tied the game. So I get it, but I just don't think in this era of baseball that the bunt is, and with how good the pitching also is, it's just more difficult than it was in the 90s or in the early 2000s to lay bunts down. Most fastballs didn't game at the the way they are coming now. There's pitching a lot more up in the zone, which is harder to bunt. Um, the breaking balls are sharper, so it's just a lot more difficult than it was in the early 2000s. So that's partly the reason why we don't see it, and hitters aren't trained to do it. And McNeil is red hot, so I get what Mendoza is saying, but I do agree with you, unfortunately, because it's sometimes nice that we can disagree. But I McNeil is a good enough should be a good enough hitter to get the job done, even if he hits into an out.
Yeah, I agree, and um, I don't want to say it's also a a cocky move, perhaps, because in that scenario in my mind, I just want to tie the ball game. To me, it feels like if you're trying to get two guys in the scoring position, you're just going for the kill shot right there. Like you just want this game over with and done, because then the base hit obviously wins the game. And maybe that's not the right line of thinking, but that's just how it kind of felt to me. Is like let's just try to tie this game. And I know technically, if you get a Iglesias over to third and Lindor does what he does, or did what he did, um, the game would have been tied. And then, assuming Taylor would tag up from second and go to third, and now you have two outs and Vientos with the winning run 90 feet away. But to me, it just kind of felt like I'm going to go for the kill. I'm going for the win right now. So I want two guys in runners in scoring position rather than the one. And maybe that's the wrong way to interpret it or think about it, but that's just how I kind of took it a little bit. It's like let's just try to tie this game rather than let's just end this game right here. Let's go home and all that stuff. That's how it kind of felt to me a little bit, trying to get those two guys in because obviously with Lindor and Vientos coming up, who Vientos seems to settle nicely into that two spot in the lineup. Um, it just kind of felt like I'd rather take two shots to win the game with one out rather than try to tie the game in three shots. And maybe that's like I said, maybe it's the wrong way to look at it, but that's how it kind of felt to me. That's how I interpreted it a little bit. I mean, maybe you can come up with the counter argument to my thinking, which I know you probably will. You're probably thinking about it as we speak. But that's how it just kind of felt to me. And like I said, I could be in the wrong here when it comes to that line of thinking, but that's how it felt. That's how it kind of looked to me.
I think he probably, I think Mendoza probably expected McNeil to be good enough to get the bunt down, and I think that way you do give yourself a chance to also tie it with a fly ball, so that it makes it easier to obviously to tie it. If you hit McNeil and you get three unfortunate outs, it doesn't always make the case that you tie it. So I don't necessarily saw it as a cocky move. I do see it as the wrong move, but I think, like I mentioned, I think earlier in the 2000s you would be very pleased with this move, but just a different era in baseball, just not as easy to bunt.
No, definitely not. And obviously, nothing productive happened after those two singles, and the Mets lose, so they are now 64 and 60, and 2 games back of the Atlanta Braves for the last wild card spot in the National League. So they're still in it, but just doesn't feel as good, especially with who they got coming up and to finish off this homestand and who they have to face on the road for this next road trip. So we talked, I believe, in our last episode, maybe 2 episodes ago, that this little stretch here, if the Mets are still in it, is going to probably make or break their season. And I'm going to stick with that theory that these next, 10 games, three with the Orioles in New York, four in San Diego, and three with the Diamondbacks. This is a this is a test for them. If they don't pass this test, I don't want to say the season's over, but they're going to put themselves well behind the eight ball, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. And then it's already turning September probably. So yeah, then you don't have a lot of time to. Maybe you're lucky that Atlanta is having a bad time or a bad 1.5 weeks, and you can sneak in. But obviously, this stretch is huge, and we're still in it. Baseball's baseball. I know on paper it sounds pretty bad facing the Orioles, Diamondbacks, and Padres. Um, but it's baseball. We have seen us sweep the Padres earlier. I think we did well against Arizona too. So we will see what happens. It's definitely not over, and there's definitely still a chance that the Mets will have a good 1.5 week. I hope.
Can only cross our fingers and hope that the Mets
Exactly.
maybe get back on track and win some go let's say at least 6-4 in these next 10 games. That would be super duper. But we will see what
Okay.
happens there. But while the Mets are hoping to get hot, there are some hot bats and hot arms down on the farm. So we will transition now to the what was most likely to be lengthy minor league minute today with Mr. Corne Hogeveen, and I see it's about what is that, two, one front
It's
and back, 2.5 pages.
two and a, yeah, at least 2.5 pages. So start. I'm going for it. Yeah, shall I get into it?
No, go right ahead. We're gonna have a long minute here, long minor league minute.
All right. Well, most notable, I think, to start this minor league couple of minutes with is that there are a lot of scouts who got fired. And I think it was coming, especially in the international signees that we had. There were some issues. Dominican Summer League match, I think both teams just haven't really performed that well. And the Mets also had some issues with ages and players that left. I think one of the top prospects for a futures year for an international signing, the Mets had him, but for some reason they let him go, and he's now picking the Braves. So I think there's a lot of not good things that happened with the international scouts. That was the main reason why this happened. That's at least from our friend BK Mets09, if I said it correctly, who provides all this great information about the Dominican Summer League. But back to the games. On Monday, Giovanni Rodriguez went 2 for 4 with his second home run in his upper young career, starting to finally pick it up. At that point, he hit 308, 400, 500 in August. Justin Ramirez had back-to-back days with a home run. He's struggling this year after a solid debut season last year. Lefty Elvis Miralles had a strong outing, throwing 4 scorers on Monday. After a horrid start in June to open the season, he was better in July and has a 0.90 ERA in August. He has 52 strikeouts over 40 and two-thirds innings after striking out 5 over 4 innings. Jonathan Jimenez was also outstanding for 6 scoreless innings, allowing just 2 hits, 1 walk, striking out 4. He lowered his ERA to 3.99. A weird day for Haniel German Wednesday, who drove in 3 without recording a hit. You don't see that often. He followed it up with a 3-for-5 game the next day. In that game, the DSL Blue Team scored 13 runs. Randy Guzman and Reniel Diaz went yard. Vladdy Guerrero went 2-for-5 with 2 runs batted in the blowout win on Thursday. It was more enough for Anthony Crespo, went 7 innings of one-run ball, striking out 6, lowering his ERA to 3.24. The Orange team scored 7 runs in the ninth in an offensive outburst, winning 18-13 on Thursday. Freddy Gomez went 4-for-4 with a double, 2 RBIs and 3 walks. Anderson Asensio drove in 4, and Giovanni played hot with a 2-for-5 day. Freddy Gomez also went 2-for-5 on Friday with a triple. And a good start for Nicholas Carreno, the lefty we got for Josh Walker. He went 5 scoreless with 5 strikeouts and 1 walk. St. Lucie, first game for 3 recent draft picks, and they all had an RBI in their debut. A fourth rounder, Eddie Serrano III, was 1-for-4 with an RBI. 17th rounder, Jacoby Long went 2-for-3 with a triple and an RBI. And 11th rounder, Nick Rosselli had the game-winning RBI hit in a 1-for-4 day and a Tuesday 3-2 win. So Garcia was splendid, going 5 and two-thirds innings of one-run ball. He allowed 4 hits and 1 walk, while striking out 3 on the day. Good days for Ronald Hernandez, Colin Houck, and A.G. Ewing in a Wednesday's win. Hernandez went 2-for-4 with a double RBI. Houck went 1-for-2 with a double, and A.G. Ewing went 1-for-1 with a RBI and 3 walks. It was more enough for the St. Lucie pitching staff. Jorge De Leon went 3 scorers with 2 strikeouts. Irving Cota allowed the only run, but still went 3 strong himself in his tremendous 2024. And Justin Gabor struck out 5 over 2 scorers. St. Lucie won the next day as well, winning 4-3 on Thursday. Carson Bench, the first rounder, made his pro debut, going 1-for-2 with 3 walks. Johairo Cuevas went 2-for-3 with 2 doubles, 2 runs batted in. and three walks. That was it. Edgar Moreno pitched well, going 5 and 2/3 innings, allowing just 2 runs, 1 earned, striking out 5 in the win. Joel Diaz was solid in his start, allowing just 1 run over 5 innings. He struck out 6. A.G. Ewing hit his third home run for the St. Lucie Mets on Saturday in a 2-for-3 day, and a first home run of his pro career for the aforementioned fourth rounder Ellie Serrano III. He went 2-for-4, driving in 3 on Sunday. Ronald Hernandez also drove in 3, and Saul Garcia, who pitched well on Tuesday, also pitched well on Sunday, pitching uh, 3 innings of scoreless ball, striking out 4. Brooklyn, Jack Weniger was awesome. Again, going 5 scoreless innings, allowing just 2 hits without issuing a walk and 8 strikeouts. Though with the Cyclones, he rated 2.84 and now has 30 strikeouts in 25 and a third innings for Brooklyn. Bullpen arms were having a great season, shut it down in a 2-0 win. Behind Weniger, lefty Ryan Emmons went 2 and 2 scoreless innings, striking out 4. And Eduardo Herrera struck out all batters he faced over 1 1/3 scoreless innings. I watched the Cyclones on Thursday, and Justin Lawson got the start going too. He allowed a lot of base runners, but showed a solid fastball slider combination with an occasional change. He allowed 1 run. Omir de Los Santos had a big day, driving in 4, including a 3-run homer. William Lugo collected 2 doubles, and Jeffrey de Los Santos drove in 2 in a big 2-out double in an 8-6 Cyclones win on Thursday. It was a nice game to watch. Lefty Zach Thornton went 5 scoreless innings, allowing just 1 hit and no walks with 3 strikeouts, 3.38 ERA with Brooklyn since his promotion. It's a bit underrated. Nice solid arm we have in lower minors. Starling Mercado hit his first with the Cyclones after showing some power in St. Lucie. He drove in 3 in a Friday win. Solid pitching for Jonah Tong and Dakota Hawkins on Saturday. In a 5-4 Cyclones win, Tong went 6 innings of 3-run ball, striking out 5, and Hawkins went 3 innings of 1-run ball. The Cyclones scored 5 runs in the top of the 9th to win that game. William Lugo hit his 6th home run, and Morabito got the game-tying hit. Jacob Reimer drove in the winning run, and Austin Trozer made his Cyclones debut and went 3 2/3, allowing 1 hit, 1 run, and 3 strikeouts on Sunday. And DeAndre Smith had a 2-hit day in that game. Binghamton, doubleheader Tuesday, ended in 2 losses. Jonas Suarez did pitch well in that game, allowing just 1 unearned run over 5 1/3 innings, lowering his ERA to 3.99. JT Shoop had his first bad outing for the Rumble Ponies in an extra inning loss. Stanley Consuegra went 2-for-3 in a game 2, the only multi-hit game, while Jeremiah Jackson had the only multi-hit game in game 1 with a 2-for-4 day. Over the 2 games on Tuesday, the Rumble Ponies just collected just 1 extra base hit. It was a Rowdy Jordan double. Nolan McLean had his best start in Double A, pitching 5 1/3 scoreless, allowing just 2 hits and 2 walks with 3 strikeouts. Unfortunately, the bullpen couldn't provide him his first win. 26-year-old Carlos Guzman did pitch well in relief with 4 strikeouts over 2 2/3 innings. Wyatt Young went 2-for-4 with 3 RBIs in the Wednesday loss. Ryan Clifford, Rowdy Jordan, and Drake Osborne combined for 7 of the 10 hits in the Thursday loss. Jeremiah Jackson is having a bad year, but has still shown his power. He hit his 15th on Saturday. Ryan Clifford went 3-for-3 with his 14th home run of the year and 2 RBIs. Parada hit his first triple, and Wyatt Young had 2 hits and a double with 2 RBIs. It was enough for mentioned Duander Suarez, who allowed 3 innings at 5, and the bullpen who closed it out. Wilkin Ramos back in Double A pitched 2 innings, 2 scorers with 3 strikeouts. It was the only game the Rumble Ponies won in the week, so they needed that. Syracuse, Dominic Hamill struggled again, allowing 6 runs over 4 2/3 innings of work. Tyler Zuber did pitch well in the loss on Tuesday. Austin Allen provided the only run on Tuesday, going 2-for-4 with a home run. Watch Brandon Sprout's second AAA start was ejected, arguing a call at the plate after the third, allowing 1 run over 3 innings. Did have some trouble finishing off hitters, but was in the zone all game, throwing a lot of strikes. Jarvis came in relief and looked very good with a good fastball slider curve combo for two scorers. I struggled in AAA, but for some reason I still believe that Justin Jarvis has some solid stuff. Brett Baty crushed a solo home run on Wednesday. What the Rochester Red Wings broadcaster said was one of the most impressive home runs of the year, 439 feet. He also homered on Friday and he homered on Sunday in a 3-for-5 day. Vinny Nittoli returned to the Mets organization with 1 2/3 shutout ball on Thursday. Drew Gilbert tied that game with a clutch two-out double, but the Syracuse pen couldn't hold that tie as Syracuse lost. Blake Tidwell had a much-needed solid outing, going 6 1/3 innings of two-run ball. He allowed 4 hits, 3 walks, with 5 strikeouts. He did receive the loss, dropping to 0-6 with AAA. Fujinami, who was awful earlier this week, struck out 5 over 2 perfect innings on Sunday, showing his potential but also showing his consistency. And on Sunday, JBJ had a good day, going 2-for-4 with 2 runs and 2 RBIs. Tyler McGill allowed 4 runs over 7 2/3 innings with 11 strikeouts for the win. And that was a long, but no, go ahead.
Well, no, I was gonna. It looked like you needed help for a word there. I was gonna say informative.
Yeah, that's what I hoped you're going to say. I think there was some nice information in that week.
There was a lot of information in that report, especially about the scouts getting fired. Who talks about
Yes,
that? What Mets podcast talks about that? I'll wait.
uh, I don't know. I don't listen enough other podcasts to define that, but maybe, yeah, maybe not a lot of people. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but you never want to see people lose their jobs. I saw one scout tweeted out that he was a scout for the Mets for 18 years, so it's never fun to see it. But enough went wrong in recent years, according to the guy who I mentioned. That it's not a surprise. And actually, the guy that we saw a lot of tweets, but I think it's good to mention that a lot that BK Mets '09 at BK Mets '09 did provide that it was coming. I think 3 months ago with a tweet that changes were coming in the Dominican Summer League, and there were drastic changes, and this was it. So he definitely is a good source and showed that he's a good source, but not telling it yet, but also, having, the scoop already a couple of months in.
Yeah, yep, credit to him, and make sure to give him a follow. And for all your Dominican Summer League reports and the Florida Complex League as well, is touch on that too?
But yes, that's obviously the Florida Complex League is now not playing, so it's mostly Dominican Summer League now, but he's also watching the Florida Complex League. Yeah.
So make sure to give him a follow, and uh, hopefully, the Mets can at the major league level can hopefully transition back to that, can start to string some wins together. It's a nice solid stretch here. We've seen the Diamondbacks have a solid stretch of games, the Padres. Now maybe it's the Mets' turn to have a good long stretch like that. And hopefully it starts tonight against the Baltimore Orioles as they wrap up their homestand at Citi Field before heading out west. And tonight, it's going to be a battle of lefties. Trevor Rogers, recently acquired from the Marlins, goes for them, going up against David Peterson, coming off a very good start against the Oakland Athletics. Tuesday, it's going to be Dean Kramer for the Oakland A's. The Baltimore Orioles is going up against Jose Quintana, who's looking to rebound from a poor start against the Oakland A's. There we go. Both those games are 7:10 first pitches, and then getaway day Wednesday, 1:10 first pitch. It is going to be Zach Eflin, who has pitched very well for the Baltimore Orioles, go up against someone who's pitched very well for the New York Mets of late, and that is Sean Manaea. So Wednesday, potentially a good pitching matchup. I feel like we say that all the time, and then that game does not turn out to be as good of a pitching matchup. So I'll say it has the potential to be a good pitching day at Citi Field. So with that being said, the Orioles looking to claim the top spot in the American League East and stay there. So there, this is a very good ball club coming in with a lot of young talent. Jackson Holliday's back and raking. Adley Rushman, Ryan Mountcastle, Gunnar Henderson. The list goes on and on and on. So this is a very formidable ball club. So if the New York Mets are to at least take 203 from the Baltimore Orioles in this series, which is what we hope for, who is going to have to be at the top of their game? So we are going to put a name to the claim with our player of the series predictions. I had the pitcher last time. I went with Paul Blackburn in the A series. Unfortunately, that did not go well, and I did catch some flack for that on the social media. Uh, so now it is your turn to pick the pitcher for this series. I get the hitter, and like we have said, we are a pitching podcast, so you get to go first.
Yeah, I'm going with Sean Manaea. I think that's definitely the outing where, on paper, as you mentioned, we need some shutout baseball. I think he came off a very good outing to reclaim his confidence after his, a little bit of a rough outing. But overall, he's been money since the All Star break. Um, so I'm hopeful that he keeps that going and gives us a chance on Wednesday because Zach Eflin is pretty nasty.
I like that pick. I like that pick. I'm going to go with someone who none of us have picked this year, and that's mostly because he hasn't even been a Met for a month now. But I'm going to go with Jesse Winker, who's gotten some good at bats of late. He's picked up hits in some of his recent starts. Obviously, Winker's not going to play every game, especially with a lefty on the mound tonight. But Jesse Winker seems like he is taking advantage of his playing time when he is in there. So let's go with Jesse Winker to have a good series against the Orioles and to hit his first home run as a New York Met.
All right, all right. I did say that Pete Alonso had would hit 2 home runs. I think I was just off, probably. But he did have a good day, Oakland series because he went 4 for 4 on one day. I remember.
He did go 4 for 4, and he very much needed a game like that. And the Mets could use a lot of those from Pete Alonso down the stretch. Don't have to go 4 for 4. That's asking a lot, but some multi-hit
Yeah,
games, drive in a couple runs. That'd be nice.
he's been hitting the ball well lately. Not but Winker too. So I like the pick. Um, I just heard your dog was sad that you picked Jesse Winker for a couple of seconds.
I think he was more upset because he thinks someone that was driving down the road was coming to see him. So I think
Uh,
that's what he was all wound up about. But no,
Poor Max.
no one's here to see him, unfortunately.
Poor Max. I wish I was closer, Max. I would visit you all the time.
He gets what he needs is more attention.
The dog. Oh, the dog.
Oh, yeah, I know. Everyone likes the dog more than me, which is fine. That's fine with me. It's very, very much okay with me. And you know what else would be okay is if people follow us on Facebook and Twitter. And if you do, and you comment on this post, you could win 2 tickets to go see the Mets and Red Sox on Labor Day at Citi Field. We've already got a couple comments on both platforms, so and maybe we'll have another pair of tickets to give away for that game as a and some other ones down the stretch in September. These are going to be potentially some important ball games, so save you a couple bucks and we'll provide the tickets for you. So just all you have to do is like or follow us on Facebook or Twitter, X, whatever the hell you call it, and you have to comment on that post. We will repost it or share it again. So you can comment on that. So be on the lookout for that. Just leave a comment why we should pick you, and we will announce a winner on the show. We will obviously contact the winner on the social media as well, but we will announce the winner uh, a week from today on August 26th. So that will be our recap of the Padres series. So then a week from Monday, we will have announced the winner. So there's still some time to get in the draw. So just go, like I said, follow us, Facebook, Twitter, comment on that post, and tell us why we should pick you. So be sure to do that in the next week or so because we're nice people. We want to get you out to the ballpark.
Exactly.
Well, I think we're going to wrap things up here on this episode number 34 of the Queen's Connection. Corne, thank you for joining us as always and providing such good information in the minor leagues and whatnot. And we hope you enjoy these next couple days against the Orioles. We are definitely going to keep our fingers crossed.
Definitely. But it's baseball, people.
Yeah, it is
A lot
baseball.
can happen.
Yes, the Mets could get swept. They could sweep the Orioles. Who knows? Somewhere like could be in the middle
Oh,
as well. It's going to be one of those outcomes for sure. So we thank you for listening, everybody. Make sure to like, subscribe if you listen on YouTube or Spotify, wherever you do that. Make sure, like I said, like, subscribe, and enjoy this 3-game series against the Orioles. We will talk to you on Thursday before the start of a big West Coast road trip out in San Diego.